So I want to talk about something that I call the short game and the long game. And the long game is this idea of continuous improvement, recognizing that the game gets hard at the end, and really the only way that you can sustain long term success is if you continue to love the game. I mean, no one really engages in behavior that they like and abhor and is soul crushing, right? So the long game is about experiment, a little trial and error, love of the game. That's the long game. But the short game is a rigid focus on winning, exploiting over experimenting. So exploiting means keep doing what works, right? Like no, this is what needs to happen because it's proven to be successful. So that's the short game. An optimal process. No, not trial and error. Do what you know works, and then improving, constant growth and stress and pushing the envelope. Right. Many times that conflicts with love of the game. Love of the game is just appreciating what you are currently. Right. But the short game is this constant obsession with improving. So I believe that these two things have to be balanced, continuously balanced. If you constantly focus on the short game, you're going to burn your guys out. That they're going to stop loving the game. They're going to resent the game a little bit. And in many respects, I think that's the multi-sport athlete. The appeal of the multi-sport athlete is it allows the short game to take a break, and you can develop a love of the game. Um, but the other thing is true is that you can't just play the long game. Like competitors need to learn how to win. That's a real trait that competitors develop. And if you never win, like how do you get validated that you're on the right track? So it's this constant recognition that both of these things are important. Now, what I have found being a travel coach is that a lot of the parents, a lot of the dads that don't have this perspective, a lot of the dads engage in this kind of behavior. They play the short game, and I play the short game too. With respect to my son, like there's not time for patience. Like we've got to get better, and we got to get better now. And if we have to get better, all my energy and focus and attention goes to him, and I want him to hit exactly how he should, and I want him to throw the right 0-2 pitch, and all of these things feel like this is where the sun lives. Okay, so um, when you're home behind closed doors and mom and dad and son are together, of course daughter is true too. I did less intervening with my daughter than my son. I don't know what it's like to be a girl, and quite frankly I wasn't as comfortable approaching my daughter as I was my son. But um, this is where a lot of the attention was with respect to my son. It's that getting better is important to me, and because I think I can help him, all of these things were things that I wanted to focus on. But with the other 11 guys, I was willing to play the long game with them. And yeah, like I didn't have a preference. Like I had a thought of what would work best for you, but who am I to impose that thought on you? So by all means, experiment. By all means, trial and error. By all means, like the last thing I want to do is be the reason you quit the game. So I want to balance that with you. So what I think the most challenging thing for a coach that has a son is your ability to balance the short game and the long game, because when you have a child, you're trying to give him a better opportunity than you ever have, and you have been down that road and you want to assist him on his journey. And anytime you want to assist him, like you stop engaging in experimental behavior. Like we don't have time for that. I know what works, I know it doesn't work. Stop doing that. Right? That's where we tend to engage in these exploitive tendencies. So, what I think is ultra critical is I wasn't willing to concede on either. right? I didn't want to abandon this, and I didn't want to abandon this. So what you do is you tie all these things together, and you have to be ultra sensitive to this kind of behavior with respect to your son. You have to give yourself constant self talk on letting him experiment, letting him have some trial and error. Easier said than done. Not saying I was great at it, but I was aware of it and love of the game stuff. And the easiest way to promote a love of the game when you're also in tune to these ideas is to create practice settings that are just fun. Like they just are fun. So even if you want to engage in these kind of behaviors with your language and your focus, the actual practice itself is fun, and he can tolerate this more. But I mean, if you create a drill structured practice and then start driving home these things, you're going to burn them out. I can't even imagine how you'd survive that as a player. So, really critical that both of these things are tied together with respect to your son. But the other thing is true is your son doesn't play alone, and he's got 11 buddies, right? So, with respect to his 11 buddies, this comes more natural. I mean, most people aren't quick to intervene and tell another dad how to parent, right? So, because most people don't interject, this is where daddy ball lives. And most people go, all you care about is your kid and you're neglecting my kid. Yeah, because I think this is almost the default setting. So, what I was sensitive to was I needed to engage more in this with those other 11 guys. And I had to coach them hard. And honestly, the parents appreciate that. The parents want to know that you're giving my kid what he needs right now, that you recognize what is the best manner in which to proceed, and you value their improvement. And if there's something that you think could benefit him, please share it with him. Don't hold it back from him. And parents like to win too. Okay, make no mistake. The drive home on Sunday evening is better when you're 5-0 instead of 3-2. Okay, so it's this constant balance between the short game and the long game that you need to recognize and you need to engage in. And when you have a son on the team, it makes this a little bit more prominent, and then you have to engage in this kind of stuff. And when you don't have a son on the team, what I have found is this actually, young coaches just sort of have this hands-off, laissez-faire approach, and you're like, can you coach them? So I think daddy ball gets a bad rap sometimes, but I also know that daddy ball isn't ideal in every sense either. It can both extremes exist. So just something to consider. Something I call the long game and the short game, and something I believe in.